Hi, and thank you for joining me for another video. Friends, today I want to talk to you about an idea that almost has been totally abandoned by the vast majority of rabbis in the world today, and that's the notion of creationism. That the earth is actually under 6,000 years old instead of how science theorizes it to be. And the reason, my friends, I believe that this is so important is because this is how the Torah holds. And as Torah Jews, this is what we should believe and what we should put our faith in. And not just Torah, but Chazal holds the same way, to the point that we even see Chazal trying to explain what happened every literal hour within those literal days. And friends, what's really ridiculous and a bit embarrassing is that virtually every religious Jew you ask nowadays on where they stand on this issue will tell you that they believe that the text is not literally speaking about 7 literal days. And worse, if you tell them that you do believe in the 6 days of creation, they will laugh at you and then take you on a roller coaster of arguments trying to disprove your stance. Friends, today I'm going to try to explain to you why I believe in the 6 days of creation and why you, as a religious Jew, should also. And one thing you must understand is that notions like evolution and the Big Bang are theories and not facts. And to blindly accept secular theories as the final say is as much of an act of faith than to follow religious ones because the Torah says so. And I'm familiar with the Yom Rishon rather than the biblical Yom Echad arguments many Jews make, trying to justify that creation may not be limited to 24-hour days. And I would think that that would be a good argument if the Torah didn't clarify the notion of 6 literal days within it. For example, how it states in Exodus 20:11, "For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, but he rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy." Or Exodus 31 verse 14 through 17, "Observe the Sabbath, and it will be a sign between me and the Israelites forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed." Actually, friends, throughout the ages, keeping the Sabbath was always the litmus test to see if one believed that the Almighty created the world. Why? Because by us ourselves laboring for 6 days and ceasing on the 7th is a statement of belief through our actions that we believe in God's amazing work of creation. In other words, because Torah tells us that we have to keep the Sabbath every 7th day and not every 7 billion years is all the proof we need to know and understand what was written in Bereshit. And one important question we must ask before choosing to believe scripture over science or vice versa is that which one has had a better track record throughout the ages. And also, it's a bit ridiculous that theories like evolution and the Big Bang are even considered science. In other words, they're just theories similar to other secular erroneous theories of the past that the secular community has just swept under the carpet when disproven, while our Torah, friends, has remained stable throughout the years. Now, many would then say that doesn't the Rambam and Moreh Nevuchim state that science and Torah do not conflict? Well, absolutely it doesn't. Science and Torah do not conflict. But like I said, that this is not science. In other words, because it's a theory and not factual. In other words, he was referring to science in the traditional sense, not the theoretical ideas conjured up by individuals who will go to any length to deny a creator. And his point again was that truth is the signature of God. In other words, if it's absolutely true, it is absolutely divine. So what we have here is two faiths that actually fight against each other. So why should we assume that our Torah is the one that's wrong? Now, friends, one of the main arguments brought by individuals who deny the creation story is that how could the narrative be talking about 24-hour days when the sun wasn't created till the 4th day? And I'm surprised that this actually shuts people up when, as Torah true Jews, more is expected of us. Because one argument one can make is that why should we assume that God does not know how to tell time without the sun? And couldn't one also say that because the 24-hour day appears before the creation of the sun, couldn't the sun be created around the day and not the day around the sun? Which is exactly what the Ibn Ezra and the majority of the Meforshim imply, that one day refers to the movement of the sphere. In other words, when it states one day, it refers to one complete rotation of the earth on its axis, which I don't have to tell you takes 24 hours. So it seems that God knew how long a day was before the sun was created. And note that the Ibn Ezra wrote this over 1,000 years ago when the supposed science of the day claimed that the earth was flat. And many will then allude to the discovery of supposed prehistoric dinosaur bones as proof that the earth must be billions of years old, when even Darwin himself said that we can't base too much on fossils because it is impossible to properly date them. And I don't have to tell you that we also have found fossilized human remains in modern clothing and many other objects, proving the inaccuracies of the modern day fossil dating system. And also, one argument always made by secularists is that the religious texts and other religious individuals cannot be trusted because they have an agenda. And what? The secularists don't have an agenda? Which is what we see with the notion of the Big Bang Theory to begin with, and how initially our modern day atheistical faithful scientists held and taught in the name of science that the universe was static and thus void of a creator. Then they found out that the universe was expanding and then were forced to come up with what they called the Big Bang Theory to yet exclude a creator from the scene. Sounds like an agenda to me, friends, and an unstable faith to rely on also. And what Michelet refers to as fools when depicting individuals who will go to any length to prove that there is no God. So friends, we have to be very careful what we accept in faith, because too much faith, especially in the wrong people and notions, could be disastrous, not only theologically, but socially. And one example on how having too much theoretical faith in science could hurt your theology is by believing the theory that dinosaurs died before man was ever created. Friends, I don't have to tell you that that would throw a wrench in the whole Jewish notion that all death entered humanity through Adam, to the point that even Torah brings down dinosaurs existing with man. The Tananim Gedolim, the big lizards as it states in Bereshit, before scientists even knew what they were. And again, friends, who has a better track record? So ultimately, if it's faith versus fact, fact wins. But if it's faith versus faith, as it is in this case, we have to look at track records and the long-term social impact of what holding such beliefs may entail to determine who we should follow. And again, in this case, friends, it's not science versus religion or faith, but rather it's secularism versus Bible believers. Now you're probably thinking, why would it ever benefit religious Jews to advocate a non-six-day position for creation? And this, my friends, is really due to their ineffective style of Jewish outreach. In other words, they believe that by kowtowing to secular Jews and telling them, look, we're not so different than you, they would win them over to their side of the fence, which may seem productive at first, but at the end only results in corrupting Judaism and the Torah as an authority over our lives. And another problem is the flawed idea that one only has to change how a person behaves in order to consider them religious and not the way they think, which is why in Judaism today we have people who keep Shabbat, Tzniut, and Kashrut, but think identical to secular Jews in other areas. And friends, another reason I believe that Jews are quick to toss out believing in the 6 literal days of creation is because religious Jews have been so bombarded with so much nonsensical ideas outside of the Torah that it has desensitized us to anything supernaturally remarkable within the Torah, which is our foundation, my friends. An example of this is how you see Jews walking around with red bracelets and hamsas and at the same time say that they don't believe in the Torah's literal account of creation, when especially these Kabbalistic Jews go out of the way to look for the deeper mystical clues in the Torah that really aren't there. When even Chazal wrote in Mikra Yotzei Midei Pashuto that we shouldn't stray from the Torah's literal meaning, my friends. Because honestly, if someone cannot accept the literal 6 days of creation found in Torah, how can they handle everything else in Torah? Would they also question the plagues, the manna from heaven, or even the Sinai experience? In other words, if from the outset we're teaching people to start questioning the authenticity of the literal narrative, how much will they then question other occurrences in the same narrative? Look, friends, the reason that we as religious Jews accept the Torah as divinely inspired First and foremost is because it was the first book that sparked the world's ethical revolution. In other words, because it works, my friends, and thus believe that it must be from divine origins. And then and only then can we embrace the idea that if such an instruction manual was formulated for us, what does that say about its author, the one we call God? The one who clearly loved us so much that he gave us a higher standard to aspire to, something that would ultimately separate us from the animals science theorizes we physically evolved from. So friends, if you're hearing me today and you want to aspire to that higher level and become a Jew yourself and enter under the wings of the Shekhinah, I want to welcome you to convert to Torah Judaism. For more information on converting to Torah Judaism, please visit Torah Judaism International at torahjudaism.org. And for more information about Judaism as a whole, please visit bejewish.org. Thank you.